Number 3, new uniforms.
Yes. Yes.
Hope you're
Yes.
hungry.
How is this not number
Hell
one,
yeah.
you monsters? What's the matter with you?
It managed to be my 4, which is funny that I think about it because this
I'm
was
looking. It was my 5. Yeah.
Jason's
Oh.
laughing because I forgot to put it on my list, but obviously if I would have remembered, it would have been number 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so good.
I'll start here. I took work off. I called in sick. That day was a damn holiday in the Schwartzman home. and it not because new uniforms. It can't be understated. We may never see a universal shift in branding land as hard as that one did. It's insanely impressive. Even the bad looks are better than 80% of MNBA city uniforms.
Yeah,
It's
I want to say
like,
I want to say this
insane.
about the uniforms before, like I could and I have talked specifically with Steve for hours and days about the uniforms. All I will say is that good branding isn't what launches your league into the homes of millions of new viewers, but you cannot do that without first having good branding. Like you were never going to see the full growth potential of the WNBA with the template jerseys. It was never going to happen. Like by the time Paige Beckers gets to the league, you're going to have teams that have looks, right? You have Liberty Green and you have your aces like your Asia Wilson with the leg sleeve and the arm sleeve and the black and red, like having looks for every team and having nice alternates and having Kaiser Gondrezic in the Stranger Things Fever jersey. That's the sort of thing that has to happen in order for the league to like continue the momentum and the legitimacy that it's earned itself over the last several years. And I love that they crushed it so hard. And I'm embarrassed that I forgot to put it on my list because it was so important.
When you look at 3 teams that up leveled in very different ways, the Liberty getting to the playoffs, the Mercury making it back to the finals, and Chicago winning it all, I actually think you can give some credit to these uniform shifts because even though I have a lot of things I've said about Chicago's uniforms, I'm not the biggest fan of their general look. You knew the Sky's vibe when you saw them on the court in those uniforms. And you knew Phoenix's vibe and you knew the Liberty's vibe. Like you got what those teams were about. And you can't do that with a templated look.
When I went back and looked,
every team can be the same vibe. And once you got that feel, it changed so much about how easy it was to support these. I'm not a fan of any of those. Like if I had like, this is my team, it's not any of those teams. I have a Sparks jersey right there. They aren't technically my team, but I got them and I wanted to support them because I understood their vibe so easily. People think that a lot of people enjoy uniform and branding talk simply because it's fun to look at things that look nice or make fun of things that don't look nice. But it is such a huge, the Emperor's clothes go a long way. Like that matters.
Yeah. Go look at highlights from this year. Like on YouTube, there's tons of great highlight packages. I looked up several in order to make my list for this episode. And just like you watch Chicago highlights in the glass ceiling jerseys and you're like, oh, I love this team. Like I know exactly what team this is because they're the team with that look. And it's the same for Phoenix's X Factor jerseys. And it's the same for every time the Liberty wore any iteration of their jerseys because they're all awesome. Like I know it's dorky to care this much about threads, but first of all, basketball is like, it kind of has like a cultural crossover with fashion oftentimes. It's something that I don't totally understand, but it's been there in the NBA for a long time. And second, like I loved watching the highlights from these games because it's like watching the highlights of a snow football game or from like, I love watching Blazer highlights from 2013 because I just love the Rip City jerseys they had that year. Like it's just something that you identify with the personality of the team, like Steve has been saying. And it's so much clearer now than when they all just had the same templated jerseys that weren't particularly exciting.
We watched this league so intently and so closely. And it took for that uniform reveal for me to truly get some teams in different ways than I thought I knew them. And it made it all the more interesting and all the more fun. And I don't know what the face of uniformdom will be for the WNBA. I'm sure a lot of these looks will maintain, and there will be new looks here and there. Maybe the Rebel jerseys will change year on year, but this was such a long overdue move, and I will go into the great beyond, screaming about what an important and huge move that ended up being, because there are so many people that, like, it was just undeniable. And there were so many people who normally would turn a blind eye to WNBA news or might even troll WNBA news that immediately were like, I've got to cop an Atlanta Dream jersey.
I want
Like-
Collins, Kyle, like I want Collins to grow up picturing her name on the back of a jersey that's cool.
Yeah,
Like
not just
Yeah.
not just a template.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, there's something very rec league about the template jerseys, and that means something when you've got somebody watching the game for the first time, because we don't, if you're trying to attract fans, you've got maybe like 2 or 3 minutes of their attention before they change the channel, unless you can engage them. And if you tune in, and this is another graph that we have, if you tune in and the team's logo is not on the center of the court, and it looks like they're wearing red jerseys, like, it's hard to get people to take you seriously. So I feel like this was a big step in that direction of, where individual franchises with identities and history and tradition, and that's important. And I'm glad they took that direction.
Agreed.